Welcome to another edition of Ask Nicki on E-Radio, and this week's topic, Revamp Your Sex Life, keeping that passion alive, that flame burning in your long-term relationships. Joining us again is Nicki Brivik, professional sex coach from Ask Nicki. Nicki, welcome once again.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks for having me.
So, Nicki, what are some common challenges that couples face in maintaining sexual passion and excitement over the course of that long-term relationship?
Thanks, Ian. I think, the thing is that in long-term relationships, we can lose desire for sex and start thinking that there's something wrong with us because all those neurochemicals that are firing at a pace when we first meet each other they dissipate, and we can't stay in that state forever and ever. So we then think, oh my goodness, have I lost desire for sex? Is there something wrong with me? But I found that it's not really a case of not having desire, but rather a lack of desire for boring, same kind of sex we've always been having in the same way for however long. And we need to think about how can we shift this boring sex life that this rut we get into having the kind of sex we want to be having, which I know I keep preaching about. But it's just, if we can be having that kind of sex, then we'll want to be having it more. So I kind of think it's a little bit like you may love chocolate chip ice cream, but if it's melted, you may not really want to have it. So I know we talked before about kind of our sexual scripts. We need to start flipping those scripts, changing things up, novelty, variety. Those are all things that kind of get us hot and heavy. And that's all things that often in long-term relationships we forget to work on. We sometimes become roommates. We're too comfortable with each other. And we forget that you need to work. Anything that is worth having requires work. And I know some people don't like to hear that, but the reality is if you want to have a hot sex life, the only thing that is stopping you from having it is not putting in the work that is needed to have it. It's just like anything. It's like exercise. It's like health. It's something that every single day you work on. But, it's that same person who exercises every day. He still needs to find the motivation to go out. It just becomes easier because you feel fitter, and it's just easier for the fit person to go exercise. So it's a little bit like that. The more work you put into your sex life, the easier it becomes, the more you want to have it. And yeah, that's kind of what it is. Sex connects you. And even if you feel tired or like there's so much going on in your life, if you are able to find that connection with your partner, then, and if you value sex and intimacy, then it's important to prioritize it because that is the way you will maintain it in your long-term relationship. So that's kind of why people lose desire. I suppose it's just natural, but how to sustain it, well, that just takes a little bit of work. And I think if you prioritize sex, just like you prioritize other things in your relationship, like your kids or whatever it is, if you make the time and you see it as an investment in your marriage and for your kids as a model of healthy relationships and sex, then hopefully you can have amazing sex for the rest of your life together.
Nicki, what advice do you have for couples who have small children and maybe the bedroom is right next door and, they can't be as vocal as they used to be, or they kind of find that, the kid sneaking into the bedroom at night at random times is sort of ruining it. Any advice?
Yes, so funny enough, that is a question I often get. And, I think the thing is that it's okay for kids to understand that there's mommy and daddy time, whatever the age. And obviously, if they're very little, you need to keep an ear out. But there's nothing wrong with having a lock on the door and or teaching your kids that you need to knock before you come in. And also, there's music, play music. A lot of people don't even think about playing music. when they're having sex. And that can really amplify the sexual experience because it allows you to get into your body and get out of your head. And anything that does that enhances the sexual experience. But it's such an easy hack and people forget to use it. But if you play music, you can definitely drown out certain noises and you can feel more relaxed. Or you can even kind of pretend that it's a game you're playing. You have to be quiet, that who knows who can hear you. It can be something that you can turn into a fun thing. So it's again that creativity, bringing that in. And I think, that's kind of what I wanted to say is, when you're having sex to have babies, you're having like that procreational sex. That's not necessarily the sexiest kind of sex. And then you also have like relational sex, which is the sex that brings you closer and, makes you feel loved and wanted and desired between your partners. And I think that's kind of what we think of when we think about sex. What I find we've forgotten is that sex is also recreational and it's fun. What is the kind of sex that we want to be having, that fun sex? How can we unleash that inner animal inside of us? And there's no place for political correctness in the bedroom. We need to start injecting risk or feigned risk into our sex life, moving things from comfortable to sexy. I know we talked about a tracksuit is comfy, love is comfy, desire needs oxygen to make it breathe. How can we make the sex in long-term relationship more fun? We know that you can have kids with it. We know that it's a good way to connect. But what about fun? And I think that's where I want people to start focusing. How can we inject fun? Not every sexual experience has to be amazing. It doesn't always have to be mind-blowing. It can be just adventurous, fun, make you laugh. It can be kinky. It can be just a way to kind of get pleasure. It can be a way to release tension. So I think we need to start seeing it more in a holistic way as opposed to the only way to connect, if that makes sense.
Definitely. But Nicki, also, balancing the everyday demands, like stress and all that kind of stuff. What is the actual effect of stress on the body and more specifically on, the regions below?
Okay, so I think that's a great question. It's a little bit what we discussed about whether your framework, your desire framework, are you a responsive framework? Are you in a responsive desire framework, or are you a spontaneous desire framework? For those in a responsive desire framework, obviously, you need to kind of get rid of that stress in order to be able to get into that desirous mode. And for some people, I often say there are two different kinds of people. There are people who need to have sex in order to communicate, and there are people who need to communicate in order to have sex. And sometimes those two people are living in the same house. So for some people, the stress that you're feeling can often be a way you want to have sex to get rid of it. It can be a way to just kind of get out of your head, out of the stress that you've been feeling, and you just want to kind of have sex with your partner and you feel better. But your partner may be feeling the exact other way. They might want to communicate, connect before they can have sex with you. And that's, again, where communication is so important, because if you understand your partner, then instead of taking it the wrong way, you will say, well, that's just their framework. That's just the way they are wired. It's not about me. It's not that they're just using me or that I've always got to spend the time getting them warmed up. It's just a little bit about knowing your partner, how they are able to connect, how they're able to de-stress, and bringing that into the bedroom. And I think that's in long-term relationships. We also talk about our brakes and our accelerators. In long-term relationships, our brakes or our inhibitors stack up, and our exciters tend to lose their appeal. And we kind of forget the hunger of sex when real life gets in the way. And I think, and that's where I think that having a date night is so important in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Because people sometimes say, oh, I don't want to plan sex. It takes away the spontaneity. But the reality is that planned sex in long-term relationships can allow you to plan for the kind of sex you want to be having. It doesn't just happen. As you say, the kids might be next door. They need to be fed. They need to be put to sleep. You might have that deadline at work that you need to get over. Real life gets in the way. So if you know that you have got a date night, and in that date night, you're going to spend the time and take the effort to inject fun, playfulness, flirtatiousness into your life. You're going to reinvigorate those passion chemicals, and you're going to put away your family, your kids, your work, and all those mundane things, and focus on each other and allow desire to flourish. And that's why I'm such a big fan of planned sex, especially for a responsive desire person. Because remember what we discussed, if you wait to get that responsive desire person in the mood for sex, they may never be in the mood. But knowing that there's a dedicated date night allows them to plan. They can physically get aroused before they even experience desire. They can start thinking about it. And you can plan this date night so that you can also remember what we discussed about injecting novelty and excitement and risk, or fame risked into your life. That allows you to plan for it. So they've even done research that couples who prioritize a night a week are statistically more likely to have satisfying sex, higher quality relationships, and less likely to divorce. So, yeah, interesting. Hey, so for me, it's such a great hack. Have a date night. It doesn't mean you have to go out and do something expensive or fancy. It just really is meaning we are going to focus on each other. We're going to put away the phones. We're going to have the kids looked after or in bed. We're going to give each other the time to really see each other, what we fell in love with in the first place, and we're going to tap into that. And then again, it also lets you think about what gets you aroused and what gets you in the mood for sex, and helps you to communicate that. And that's something, I know we've talked about creativity, but creativity outside the bedroom also spills into creativity in the bedroom. So what happens outside the bedroom often dictates what happens inside the bedroom. They're all interconnected. So if you want to take your sex life up a notch, you take your life up a notch. And you can learn about yourself and your partner by bringing what happens outside the bedroom into the bedroom. And that you can do on a date night. So for example, if your partner loves being outside, they like hiking, or, an exercise kind of person, well, maybe that's what you do on your date. Do an exercise class together, go for a hike together. Add some kind of physical adventure that could make you really hot for when you get back to the bedroom. If your partner is someone who loves emotional connection, then you could kind of sit and talk about your day. You can download. You could even maybe bring dirty talk into the bedroom, because someone who loves conversation, that can really work for them. Are you like a visual person? Then maybe that's something you can do, is you can have a vivid fantasy. You can dress up. You can share your visual fantasy. You could watch something hot together, like ethical porn, or something sexy on TV. And yeah, if you're playful, if you're someone who loves to play, you can play games, and not just sexual games. I mean, although sexual games can be amazing, but even game nights. Or those people are often people who are down for kink. Or you can play sexy stranger. You can go out and pretend you meet each other and you've never met each other before. So I think it all comes down to creativity and being curious about your sex life, about what turns you on and about what turns your partner on, and bringing that in to your relationship. And the date night is a great time to do that, because you can plan for the time and you can set it aside. Does that make sense?
It does, and I was actually going to ask you about this modern trend where more and more you see couples watching porn together, and I was wondering,
Yes.
is that actually healthy for the relationship, seeing other people get it on and then being inspired by that?
Yeah, so that's the thing, porn can get a really bad rap because of the way it's always been, but I think it's really about sexual education, and knowing that porn is actually entertainment, not comparing yourself, not using it for the as the only way to get you aroused. But now there's ethical porn. And ethical porn is, the people are paid properly. It's kind of done in such a way that it is more for the women's gaze and couples gaze. It really works for couples and for women because you kind of see more of the body of the men. People, you see all different kinds of people having sex. And I think it can be a great way to explore what is out there, exactly what you were saying. So I'm comfortable, if you are comfortable, recommending my clients to watch ethical porn or anything sexy, or even, there's amazing websites now where you can get lit erotica. That's a great, where you can actually hear a story being read to you, or you can read it yourself or read it to your partner. And there's audio erotica, lit erotica. They're all at your fingertips now, which in the olden days we didn't have. So there are all those things that can engage your brain and get you hot for the next session. Because remember what we discussed, the more desire, the more arousal, the more pleasure, the more orgasms you have, and the stronger your orgasms are. So I encourage anything that enhances your pleasure. And certainly if you are in a long-term relationship, what can be wrong about focusing on how you can both be having the kind of sex you want to be having? The more pleasurable, the hotter it can be, the more sustainable it will be in your relationship and hopefully your marriage, and bleed out into every area of your marriage.
And then also what you mentioned, role playing, which is quite interesting, where your husband, he could possibly come dressed completely different to the front door, ringing the bell and saying he's here to fix your washing machine or something,
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why all those things that everyone knows turns you on, because those kind of often work. And I find role play can sometimes be a great way of getting out of your head and into your body, because you can be that other person. You can be the plumber or the pool boy or the nurse or the waitress, and you can get out of the Nikki that is holding me back. So, put on a wig, wear something different, be a different person. Remember, this is the way adults play. So don't limit yourself in any way. Try it on. Some people say, oh, I don't know if I could ever be so kind of hindered by reality to get into that kind of persona. And I say, even just the dress up can do it for you. You don't have to follow through and actually pretend to be that person. Just sometimes being in a different outfit. If you've ever been to like a dress up party, there's that excitement before. What am I going to wear? What are the other people going to wear? What's it going to be like? You get to the party. Oh, I like what you're wearing. So just sometimes that dress up can really inject excitement. It doesn't even have to go much further than that. But try it. And again, it's the differences. Don't get stuck into a rut of having sex the exact same way you've been having it for the last however many years. Change things up. Sometimes just the smallest change makes a big difference. Sometimes I say to clients, have sex the other way. In other words, lie with your feet at your head and with your head at the feet. Or move a chair, have it in a different room. Do it in the car if it's safe. Just one small change can really have amazing effects on your sex life. And it doesn't have to be massive. And even just those one small change can really kind of have lasting effects, because you can live off it. So sometimes that quickie in the shower wasn't as great as if you had that long session, but you kind of know that it was this quickie just before work. It was unexpected, and it can feed you through the day and give you like this inside knowledge between each other that no one else has, and can bring you closer and make you feel better and sexier and more empowered.
And Nicki, what advice do you have for a person who may feel that he or she is like self-conscious about their body? Maybe there's some flab that they don't like, or maybe some marks, stretch marks, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know that is something that holds us back so much. We carry the self-doubt and shame about what we look like. And I mean, the reality is it's something that you have to work on. Your partner, especially because we're talking about long-term relationships, generally your partner loves you for who and what you are, and as you age. And I think what we have to focus on is what our bodies can do for us and the pleasure they can give us, rather than what they look like. So the focus shouldn't be on what we look like. It should be on what it can do for us. And anyone who is hindered in any way or has any disability is fully aware of this. So I think that's something we need to focus on. And then also it's about, creating the atmosphere. So I sometimes say, well, then don't have sex in the broad daylight. Put on a candle. Everyone looks great with a candle.
Absolutely.
Try find the underwear that makes you feel sexy. Try having sex with underwear on, with underwear off. And also remember, when you're in close quarters, you don't see a whole body. You're seeing what's right in front of you. And that person in the bedroom with you, it generally is turned on by you. So get over your mind and into your body, and enjoy what your body can do for you.
Exactly. And what do you say, Nicki, about people bringing in a third party into the bedroom? I'm not talking about toys. I'm talking about an actual person.
So, I mean, that can absolutely work for people. And I do a complete separate talk about that, because there are a lot of people who are interested in breaking out of monogamy and opening up their relationships. It has become more and more popular. The thing is, I think you've got to really, again, it comes down to communication. Is it what you both want? Because that's the thing. You both have to want it. You have to have really thought about it. You have to have really thought about all of it, because the reality is, not only what do you want from that extra person? Do you see yourself as the object of everyone's desire, or where are you in that picture of the three of you? You need to hash that out. Who is that third person? Is it someone you know? Because my advice is it shouldn't be someone you know, because that can also cause problems. Why are you wanting to introduce it? Is it a little bit of fun? Is it because you think that your marriage is at risk? Because then it's dangerous. But if you're thinking, I think we are solid, we just want to add a little bit of fun, it can absolutely work. And then you also have to think about what happens afterwards. What happens after? Does the person leave? Can they stay and cuddle? What do you guys agree on? So all this needs to be hashed out. And again, it goes to communication, talking about your likes, your wants, your fears, and how you can mitigate fears, because obviously there can be jealousy, and that's something. Are you able to? That's something you need to decide with your partner if you do want to open it up.
Yeah, I can imagine that it can also cause a lot of problems if if one of the partners don't want to have a third party in, and the other really wants that third party in. So, I mean, that can create more problems, maybe even make one of the partners feel insignificant. That can lead to a whole new world of trouble. But
it can, but that's why, again, consent, and that's why they call it consensual non-monogamy. So if you are wanting to do something, and remember, nothing has to be forever or always, and you can also start out small. If that is something that you're interested, watch porn, see what kind of, if that appeals to you, go to a strip club, have a lap dance, that you don't have to go from zero to hero. You can kind of see what does appeal to you, and talk about it with your partner and see how far you're willing to go and push those boundaries if that is something that turns you on and that both of you want.
So for couples feeling discouraged or hopeless about reviving the passion in their relationship, Nicki is going to help you approach this journey with optimism and determination. Nicki, how do we get in touch with you?
So I'm on all the social media platforms. It's ask.Nicki, Nicki, on Instagram. Follow me, I give tips, share me with friends, and open up that conversation with the people around you so that it is not such a taboo topic. And hopefully we can all be having great sex and the kind of sex we want to be having.
You're making it easier, Nicki. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you so much. And that's another Ask Nicki for another week.